Hey guys, MBSC1 again, and I have a Virizion Genesect Dragonite deck list for you. I haven't really seen any posts about this yet or any videos about it, but I think this is definitely going to be a top archetype with the new format that actually just started today because I'm recording this on the 3rd. You might be seeing it later, but um, so with the new rotation, I think the new way to run Virizion Genesect will be with either with Beartic, or Dragonite. And you can even cut out the Genesect entirely and just go straight Virizion Dragonite if you want. But this list is going to be with both Dragonite and Genesect. So I'll just get straight into the list. I should note though that this is my friend's list. This is my friend Michael Paris's list. He's a very good player. He's who I test with most of the time, and this is just what he's come up with, and I thought it was pretty good, so I'd share it with you guys. So we'll start with a Pokemon. For Virizion, this is just so that you can start with Virizion every time. I thought he should go down to 3, but he's convinced me that 4 is good in this deck because you do want to start with Virizion every time. I at first believed that if you just get 3 energy into play and you can just bust in with Dragonite every turn for basically the rest of the game, you're going to be good, but he's convinced me that 4 is necessary so that you can Emerald Slash in the beginning of every game because you really don't want to have to Emerald Slash like mid game or late game to get more energy into play because that's never good. You really just want to get a lot of energy into play early so that you can use Genesect and then with other energy bust in with Dragonite. So Virizion is very good to have 4 of. For Genesect, we cut it down to only 2 instead of 3. It's still a very solid attacker. It's just that we have other attackers in the deck now, so we go down to 2. It's really only natural. We still have Plasma Energy in the deck, so you can take advantage of Red Signal, because Red Signal is a very powerful ability, still one of the best abilities in the game at the moment. Megalocan is still a great consistent attack. Genesect is just all around a good Pokemon, and it's a nice grass type attacker. I know you already have Genesect, but the thing is, I mean, you already have Virizion, excuse me. But the thing is, doing 50 and hitting something for weakness is going to two-shot it most of the time anyway, even with a muscle band. So against decks like Seismitoad, it's good to have Genesect as well as Dragonite because, to be honest, Virizion Dragonite has a far harder time against Seismitoad decks than Virizion Genesect Dragonite. So Genesect is great for those reasons. Also, it's nice because there's G-Booster in the deck. So G-Boosters obviously is a great attack that you can use. So yeah, Genesect is great. For Dragonite, we just have 3. I thought 4 would be good, but if you already have 2 Genesect, it's really kind of silly to run 4 Dragonite as well as 2 Genesect because you really aren't gonna ever need 2 main attackers. So 3 Dragonite seems like a solid number to me. It's basically just like the perfect amount to have enough so that you can bust in a good amount of times and just keep damage off the board. Because basically the strategy with Dragonite is you use bust in to get energy off damaged Pokemon and then bring those energy to Dragonite and then attack with it. And then on the next turn after your Dragonite's damaged, you can just bust in with another Dragonite and then super scoop up the previous Dragonite so that it has no damage, and then you can bust in with that Dragonite on the next turn. I know that's a little bit it's not that complicated of a strategy. I hope that all makes sense to you. But basically, the idea is it's less aggressive and more defensive, and you can heal pretty much all the damage off of your Dragonites and Genesects and Virizions all the time. So I think it's a really cool strategy, and I really like Dragonite. I think the ability Bust In is really good. Just in case you haven't heard it, I'll just read it to you real quick. It says, when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may move it any number of basic energy attached to your Pokemon to this Pokemon. If you do, switch this Pokemon with your active Pokemon. And something I should note about the wording in that, it says any number of basic energy attached to your Pokemon to this Pokemon. And I should note that 0 is a number, so you can move no energy in play to Dragonite and still get it in the active position. The reason that I should note that is because it says if you do, meaning that if you don't, then you wouldn't be able to move it into the active position. But since 0 is technically a number, then you can do it. At least that's what I'm getting out of it. honestly, I could be wrong about that ruling, but I'm pretty darn sure that that is how it works. Um, so just so you know, there's that. But Dragonite it's a really good Pokemon. I mean, it's beefy, got 180 HP, better than 170, and that 10 HP actually does make a difference a lot. Excuse me. And then its attack, if you don't know, Jet Sonic does 80 plus you may discard an energy attached to this Pokemon. If you do, it does 40 more. So that's 120. Combined with Muscle Band, that's 140. And if you don't have Muscle Band, 120 plus an Emerald Slash is 170, so that can knock out most Pokemon. And then also if you have a Muscle Band, that adds up to 190, so that'll knock out any EX that is not a Mega. And then, yeah, so basically the attack isn't amazing, but it's still a good attack, and, it'll do a good amount of damage. And you can pretty much always discard the energy attached to it because you just get another energy into play on the next turn. And you won't always need to, so it's just nice to keep those energy in play also. And then I think that's about it. Also, it has the new weakness to Fairy. All the dragons apparently are getting weakness to Fairy now, so that's it. Oh, and then it also has one of the attack costs is a Lightning, so we also run Lightning energy in the deck, and I'll show you that later. So that's actually it for the Pokemon. It just has the 9, I believe? Yeah, 9, so there's actually no non-EX attacker. That is something we'll have to fix. That is probably a problem, but there is nothing that really fits well as a non-EX attacker in this deck. I would suggest Bouffalant, but it's getting rotated, so that kind of stinks. And then we have 4 Super Scoop Up. He ended up getting the original artwork for Super Scoop Up, which I think is really cool. I think this is the first printing they ever had of it, but it does the same thing. The wording's the same and everything. The reason why we run 4 is this deck is supposed to be really defensive, and basically it can make it so that you can use Bust In again, because it only says when you put it down from your hand. So if you Super Scoop Up it and then put it back down, you can just move all the energy to it again. So it's very good with Super Scoop Up. Great synergy together. So for that reason, we run 4. It's just a really good card, honestly. I don't know why this card isn't more played. Well, actually, I do know why it's not more played. It's probably just because it's a coin flip and people don't like that. But I think it is definitely worth it. If you only get like 1 hit on out of these 4 Super Scoop Ups, I think it's still, it'll still be enough to help you, win games and stuff like that. So I think Super Scoop Up is very good, and I definitely like the inclusion of it in this deck. 3 Muscle Band. This is basically just to help math with Virizion Genesect to make it so you can take 2-shot knockouts. So 50 plus a Muscle Band is 70, and then 70 plus a Mega Locanon is 170, which will knock out a lot of EXs, a lot of the popular EXs. Also, like I said with Dragonite earlier, if you do, if you need that extra 20 damage to make sure you can knock out 180 HP Pokemon, you can use Muscle Band for that. Also, Muscle Band will help you knock out those 130 HP non-EXs like Kyurem, Zekrom, and Reshiram. Those all have 130 HP, so Muscle Band will make it so you have enough to knock it out with these. And it's just good to have that extra damage. Also can knock out things like Tepig and all those basic Pokemon that evolve if you're Emerald Slashing. So Muscle Band's just good for extra damage, basically. And we have 2 Energy Switch. You might seem counterintuitive to run Energy Switch in a deck that has Dragonite, because Dragonite's ability basically is Energy Switch. But it's still good in this deck because you can Energy Switch from your Dragonites to your Genesect if you ever want to go the Genesect route. And then also if you're going to stream G-Booster more than 1 turn, you're going to need Energy Switch to help do that. And that's basically the main reasons. Also, if you want to move energy from one of your Pokemon to something besides Dragonite, Energy Switch is good for that. For example, if you have a Virizion with 2 energy on it, and then another Virizion with 1 energy on it, and the Virizion with 2 energy on it has damage on it, you can, Energy Switch to the other Virizion and attack with that one, so that you're attacking with something not damaged. Energy Switch is great in this deck because you usually have a lot of energy in play, so very powerful. Then we have 2 Colress Machine. This is basically just also to help stream G-Booster. We saw it in a lot of decks that were doing well at Worlds this year, so I figured it would be good to put it back in the deck. It was taken out for a while just because people thought, Red Signal was so good that we're not even going to want a Colress Machine, but it seems like it's been doing well at both Nationals and Worlds, so I decided to put it back in, or my friend did as well as me. So we have it back on our list. We don't have 3 just because, we need to fit in more stuff for Dragonite, but 2 seems like a good number because you do want to use red signal sometimes, and I feel like more than 2 is kind of just inefficient. It's kind of a waste of space. So 2 seems like a good number, but it's not completely necessary. It's just good for helping stream G boosters and things like that. Actually, only 2 Ultra Balls. So a lot of people think that 3 or 4 are just like the staple number in decks, but honestly, if you think about it, if you only have 3 different Pokemon and you've got 4 copies of the one that you need the most, and then you can basically work with either getting either of the other 2, you're probably going to draw into them anyway. I guess this is just to help improve consistency a little bit more, but basically these, the balls in this deck are not very important, so you only really need 2. You don't really need any more than that. It's not very important to thin cards out of your deck, so you don't really need those late game anyway, because honestly it'll just be a dead card late game most of the time. So instead of thinning cards out of your deck, you'll actually end up making more dead cards in your deck. So yeah, only 2 Ultra Balls is really necessary, so that's why we just have 2. Just 1 Tool Scrapper? This is pretty standard in Virizion Genesect decks. You usually only run 1 Tool Scrapper, but there's also a Megaphone in this deck. The reason why we went with 1 Tool Scrapper and 1 Megaphone is because this deck runs... Oh, actually, we did take out the Megaphone. So the reason we went with Tool Scrapper instead of Megaphone is because if you want... This deck runs 4 Bicycle, and also Igor Costa was running lots of Bicycle, and you ran Tool Scrapper. And the reason you run Tool Scrapper instead is because 2 reasons. First one being you can Tool Scrapper your own items so that you can Bicycle for 1 more card. And then the other reason being you can Tool Scrapper your own items so that you can attach a G Booster instead of a Muscle Band to Genesect. So for those 2 reasons, Tool Scrapper is a little bit better than Megaphone. And there's usually not more than 2 items on your opponent's side of the field anyway, so it'll usually, it'll just help in those train situations. So Tool Scrapper is good. It's actually being rotated, I just remembered, so I guess this will have to turn into a Megaphone unless you are playing Extended, so I guess that will have to change, but I would prefer to run Tool Scrapper. 1 Professor's Letter, this is just basically so you can Skyla for a Professor's Letter if you ever need to do that, so that you can just make sure that you get that turn 1 energy attachment with Virizion. It also works well with Dragonite because Dragonite needs what's it called? Electric Energy, and since you only have 2 copies of Electric Energy, Professor's Letter is basically your 3rd copy of Electric Energy if you need. So this is very good. I'd actually even consider running a 2nd Professor's Letter, but it's not completely necessary. So 1 is, a good compromise. This is just something my friend was testing out. Honestly, this is just G-Scope. It's just an idea. It's we're just testing it. I personally think G-Booster is just going to end up being better, especially with the 2 Colress Machine and the 2 Energy Switch in this deck, but he just wanted to try out G-Scope. Honestly, if I were you, I would just run G-Booster instead, but this is just, kind of something fun that you might want to try out. The one of the advantages to it is you can actually G-Scope a Garbodor and knock it out, and then also in Extended it might be slightly better because you can just G-Scope their Electrics so that they can't power up their Rayquazas as quickly. Honestly, G-Scope isn't that bad. It's just G-Booster is usually better. So it's, you can try it if you want, but G-Booster is almost always going to be better. Then we have 2 Switch. So a Skyro Bridge isn't in the deck anymore because it got rotated, so naturally you have to run more switching cards, so we have 2 Switch. Dragonite has a 3 retreat cost, so Switch is going to be important in this deck. Honestly, you don't really need more than 2. You could even go down to 1. I told my friend to go down to 1, but he kept with 2, and I realized later that 2 is important. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100% sure 2 is the perfect number for this deck. You aren't going to need to switch too much though, because Bust In is a switch anyway, so it's good for that. But also, early game you might need to Skyla for a switch, or just use a switch so that you can bring Virizion active. And then, sometimes you just don't want to have to discard that 1 energy, so you can retreat with Virizion or Genesect. So, Switch is, very good. I think 2 is a perfect number. 1 Max Potion. This is just so that you can heal damage off Dragonites that were damaged on the last turn. So if you have a Dragonite that you used last turn and then you bust in with another Dragonite, then you have this Dragonite on the bench that has no energy on it, but it does have damage on it. So it's like max potion, and you can heal a bunch of damage and not have to discard any energy. So it's very, very good for that. I know Scoop Up does essentially the same thing, but max potion is basically always flipping heads. You just don't get to bust in with it again. But you know, sometimes you just need to make sure you get all that damage off. You can't do the coin flip, so we have one max potion for that reason. One Shadow Triad. This is basically just to get plasma energy or G booster. So yeah, I mean, 2 was pretty standard, but now with Dragonite included, you're not going to need a G booster as much. So we just have one Shadow Triad for that reason. You can also get back Genesect because there's only 2. If you really realize you just want to use Genesect the whole game, then Shadow Triad might be good for that. Excuse me. One Lassant because you're going to need to bring up your opponent's Garbodors to knock them out sometimes. That is assuming you're running G Booster instead of G Scope. It's just good. It's just, the effect is just great. But the thing is, Garbodor is going to be really popular. So you need other ways to knock out Garbodor or get rid of Garbotoxin other than Tool Scrapper, because Seismitoad shuts down Tool Scrapper, and you basically rather have a permanent way to get rid of the ability lock. So Salt is good for that. Then there is, for the rest of the supporters, there are 2 Chorus. This is basically just standard in most decks. Chorus isn't that great in this deck because there's only 9 basics, so you're not going to be chorusing for a ton, but it's still a solid supporter, and 2 is just a good number. So that's what we have for Chorus. For Skyla, we have 3 Skyla. Skyla can just grab the G Booster, or the Energy Switch, or the Muscle Band. There's so many good things you can grab with Skyla in this deck. The Switch if you're, excuse me, if it's early game. The Ultra Ball if you need to get the Virizion out. Even the Scoop Up if you really want to get, you know, the damage off your Dragonites so that you can just keep streaming Bustin. So Skyla's great for a bunch of stuff. 4 would be nice, but you don't really need 4, and you can't really fit it when you have 4 Bicycles in a deck. 4 Bicycle. Excuse me. We saw Igor Costa mostly doing this. I'm not sure if he ran 3 or 4, but he did run a very high count. And because of this, my friend Michael was like, I'll try it. And ever since he tried it, I've been watching him bicycle for high numbers a lot, and he's doing it really consistently, and it's really powerful. So I think bicycle is great in this deck. It also helps your late game a lot, so that you can bicycle and maybe hit a supporter, and then, you know, have a really explosive ending and not just dead draw. So bicycle is great for that, and it's just good for making you hit more cards. Bicycle is just a really good card, honestly, and this deck has room so you can fit 4, so 4 Bicycle is awesome. We saw 4 Bicycle a lot at Worlds, actually. Chase Maloney also ran 4 Bicycle as well. And then for the rest of the sport, I know Bicycle isn't a supporter, I just kind of lump it in with there because it basically does the same thing as a supporter would do. Then we have 4 Juniper. Juniper is just basically a staple in all decks. I don't know why this isn't a Dark Explorer's Reverse Holo like the other ones, but who cares, really? Some of you probably do. Michael probably does. But, yeah, of course, Juniper standard. I mean, it's probably the best supporter on the format. Maybe worse than N, but who knows? This shouldn't have come as a surprise at all. For N, you know, one of the top 2 best supporters in the format. Super powerful. Not much to say about it. And then for the energy line, this is kind of interesting. We have just 3 Plasma. You got to make room for other energy because Dragonite requires electric energy, and then you're not going to be red signaling as much because you're not using Genesect as much, so you just go down to 3. Then we have 2 Lightning. This is just to help. Fit the energy requirement for Dragonite's attack. 2 is pretty much the standard if you're going to include it basically just for one Pokemon's attack, and if it only needs 1 energy. It's kind of the same idea for Raybor and Blastoise. They usually include 2 electric energy for Rayquaza or Black Kyurem, so I figured it would be the same sort of thing for Virizion Genesect. So that's why there's just 2. As far as grass goes, there are 8. I would not hate seeing 9, but you don't need as much energy as badly, because you're not going to be emerald slashing as much, because you're going to be using Dragonite more. So you're keeping more energy in play, so you don't need the 9th as badly. So I think this is a really solid energy line. I like it a lot. And yeah, I think it's a great list. That's why I thought I'd share with you guys my friend's list instead of my own, because I figured he has more time he's used the deck more than I have, and so I figure he knows what he's doing with it better than I do. So that's his list. I might post a video of me and him playing in the future. I recorded a couple, but I just used this webcam, so the video quality is pretty bad. But I'm looking. I just got paid, so I'm looking to buy a high quality camera, and I want to start posting videos of me and him playing, because if I was, as a fellow YouTuber, I know I like watching videos of people playing against each other in real life if it's just like a high quality video. And I don't usually see that unless like on the bubble or something else like streams it. So I thought it would be cool if I could kind of recreate that at home. So tell me if you guys want to see that, or just leave a comment. Tell me anything, if I can improve this video, make it better. I know it's a long video, like it's almost 22 minutes. It's probably going to be end up being 22 minutes. I just like to talk about the deck a lot, explain everything. So thanks for watching. Comment if you want to tell me something. Like if you like the video, and subscribe for more. Have a nice day.